Hello, hello, Nick Orion. How you
Hello.
doing?
Hi, Jens.
So this shall be an Argenic podcast, right?
Yes, this is the Argenic podcast, our first remote Argenic podcast.
Yeah.
Are you
So
in
what's new?
jail? What's the striped
Yeah.
bars behind
No,
you?
no, no. It's the pattern of the content studio here at the network school. What have you
The
been up to
network
over the last
school.
few weeks? Oh
Okay,
yeah,
last
I
few
think we have
weeks.
a bit of delay,
We
so we're
do.
gonna have to consider that. Go ahead.
So no unison singing. What have I been up to? I've been in Lisbon working and I put out a song on Spotify and
Oh
I've
yeah,
been,
nice.
yeah. And then
What's the name of the song?
the name of the song is Lightning Dream. I'm gonna go listen to it. It's on, or not, up to you. But it's pretty good, and it's under Orion, and there has a cool red and yellow, very energetic uh, album cover image. So that's the first song I've put out on Spotify. So that's inaugural, and now there's another one cooking. Stay
Yeah,
tuned.
nice.
Yeah, there might be another one out by the time this podcast goes live.
Same album.
No, not same album. It'll be a different album. But yeah, so I'm cooking, and yeah, I've been mourning your departure.
No, no. Well,
How
we're
is
still alive,
how is
alive
how
and
is
well.
settling how is settling into your new nomad spot?
I'm good. It's been good. Time changes are a little annoying flying east. So my second day, I basically didn't sleep. I was up to like 5 a.m. For better or for worse, local time. And initially, I was trying to sleep, which is not the move. You should just read or write or do something else. But at this point, almost a week here, so pretty settled in. I spent a couple days in Singapore initially, which is a very cool place. Very impressive what they've done. It's basically a little melting pot of all of the Asian cultures. Not all of them, but Malay, Indian, Chinese. And yeah, they've built themselves a little Switzerland, basically. It's very interesting how similar they are in structure, where basically you have three different cultures coming together under an economic project, which allows them to increase their living standards insanely. So you just cross the border and you can see all Malaysians living in shacks. So you can understand what the transition has been, because in Singapore nobody's homeless or living in shacks, and that economic project that they share just allows them to kind of pull through under an ideal of excellence, kind of similar to what the Swiss have pulled off. And then they're just a tiny country which has good diplomacy with everybody, so they're nobody bothers them, and they're just basically excellent in anything they do, which is pretty cool to see. Always
Yeah.
respect that.
How big is it when you're there? Does it feel very large? I've
It's
never
tiny.
been.
It's tiny.
The city compared to another
It's
city like Paris or New York or London or
well, it is 7 million people.
okay.
And it's
So
since it's a city state, the entire country is the city. So it's large in that regard, but you drive across the country in 45 minutes,
mm,
including traffic. So it's small, and it's strategically located. So they were capturing most of the trade through the Malacca Strait, and kind of having they first built out docking yards to sustain that trade. Then they've just been incredibly stable. So people have put their headquarters there, their finances, which is a bit more sustainable, also moving towards the Switzerland model. And now they are just incredibly good innovators as well. Just the entire spirit of kind of the Indian subcontinent and the Chinese emergence kind of fuses here, and they're very digital first. So they're also going to do well in this era that we're breaking into, as kind of the more analog world becomes less and less prevalent compared to the digital world. They will do well as well. And I'd not be surprised if in 150 years they have basically the Switzerland status.
they have grown territorially? Because
No,
at some point they're going to run out
same
of
as
space.
Switzerland. Well, that's what you do. You basically why what you do is you become incredibly selective about who you let in. The same as Switzerland.
Same as
Switzerland.
Switzerland, you say? Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So Swiss people, immigration is possible. It's incredibly hard, right?
unless you show up with a big
So
check.
yeah, so if there's proof of work of excellence, basically, there's ways you can circumvent that.
Yes, you
You
can.
can you can you can gain access to the system. So that's what you do once you run out of space. You become selective.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, and they've built it from the ground up in terms of everybody is aligned about like, oh, we're Singaporeans. Like, what does that even mean? Like 50 years, it didn't mean anything. Now it means, well, we are the excellence that the rest of the world can use to interface with Asia with. That's basically the position that they've acquired. They all speak English. Everybody can do business with them, where you can't really, it's harder to do business with mainland Chinese. India is a little easier with the English, but you can interface with the Singaporean Chinese, which all speak English, and they all speak Mandarin. So they've really
yeah.
captured that little economic gateway and are leveraging that. So
Much
hats off to
Western
that.
because you say it's mostly Indian, Malay, Chinese,
Yeah,
but how much Western influence is there? How many Westerners
incredible.
are there? Like
Westerners,
how,
I
how
mean,
many Europeans are there walking around the streets?
not a lot. So some tourists, my guess is probably like 10% white. I am guessing. I have no idea. Maybe it's also depending on the suburbs or the districts you're in. But their institutions are incredibly Western. So I would actually argue they have conserved the British Empire better than the Brits have.
There must be a bunch of Australians if it's so close.
Yeah, I'm sure there are. I've met a couple Kiwis, Australians. They're Brits. So it's most of the Commonwealth
Yeah.
adjacent stuff that would end up here, slash in Singapore. Yeah.
Well, that's really cool. So you're not actually in Singapore though, right now.
No. So right now I'm at the network school, which is right outside Singapore, in this place called Forest City, which they're trying to develop into a special economic zone in Malaysia, right outside Singapore. So kind of what Singapore used to be. This is, I guess, this could be considered the territorial expansion of Singapore in a way,
Yeah,
because
that's what it seems like.
it's a little bit like that, at least in spirit. Like if even though there's no claims of like sovereignty by Singapore, it's the same spirit, and people are operating this from Singapore.
Yeah. Well, that's how America, that's how anybody expands to their neighbors. America would go send out, I mean, I say America would send out. People, Americans, would just go back 300 years ago. They would just say, hey, there's nobody in Idaho. I'm going to go there, do what
Mhm.
is required to take the land. And then once it's been settled for, I don't know what the average amount was, but once it's been settled for like 50, 80 years and has a large enough population, then mainland United States would decide, okay, you're a state now. So they just let it
Yeah, so
happen decentralized. At the beginning, it happens very decentralized. You just go to the next adjacent area and you expand the vision. And then at some point, the main section recognizes you. It says you have been you are being officially grouped into us. Yeah, they could
yeah,
probably Singapore could probably end up doing that for quite a bit of that island, big island.
I mean, we'll see if they do seek to do expansion, then yeah, we would see how they would go about doing that, and it would probably take like 50 to 100 years. It is a big island. It is a big island, and but yeah, so that's where we're at right now.
Okay, so you've been there 1 week. You've been meeting people or just settling in.
A lot
When
of
does
people, yeah,
when
settling
does
in.
school start?
There's not that much of school going on. It is mostly just hanging out in what is basically a co-living, co-working situation, and you're just constantly meeting people that are very much aligned with the spirit of kind of the network state, mostly crypto AI, and then, yeah, national era critique that people chat about and are very versed in. So it's really cool because you will just every conversation is an interesting person. It's incredibly self-selected because coming out here is not trivial, especially if you're coming from the West. You'll you have to understand and resonate with the mission to put in that proof of work. So it's easier in coming in from Asia, which is also not non-trivial. I mean, if you're living in Singapore, it's different. But yeah, there's a lot of people from Bali. Um, Most Westerners are Bali, people of the Bali node of the digital nomad network, basically. And yeah, the rest is a few Europeans, a good amount of Americans, and most of them are nomads for sure.
Yeah. It's funny that you say just naturally the Bali node of the digital nomad network. I was explaining this to a couple people at this wedding I was at recently because I was referring to the normal spots that you and I refer to of the nomad spots, but they had no idea. They didn't know what language I was talking to. Well, talking, they didn't know what I was saying. And I was because I was
For example,
someone asked me why did we move to Lisbon at all? Why did we even choose Lisbon? Seems super niche going from New York to Lisbon. And I told them that we had a 15-minute conversation in which we sat down and we said, okay, New York's not really for us right now. Let's go to one of the nomad spots. And then we just listed over the course of 15 minutes. We were like, okay, so what are the nomad spots? Well, going from west to east, we got Costa Rica, Tulum, Mexico
Buenos
City,
Aires,
Buenos Aires, Austin, Texas,
uh,
formerly Miami, Lisbon, maybe Croatia, Dubai, Bali, and Singapore. We basically just listed off those places. We were like, okay, where should we go? And Lisbon was a spot.
yeah,
But people, when I said that, they were like, that is such a random group of cities that you just listed. But for us, it's not random at all. It's obvious.
right, right. Yeah. So it's interesting because you can see the network state already existing across these nomads, right? So not directly affiliated with Balaji per se, who's kind of carrying this node out and carrying that to completion. But there's already, well, it's basically the crypto community is already the financial infrastructure. So no matter where they are, so technically New York is and San Francisco are pretty essential nodes, especially as the U.S. continues to adopt crypto of the network, and it already exists. So people are moving between those, and that's why we consider them. There's just not a unifying statehood or
Yeah.
identity yet, but it will emerge.
Yeah. So you say there already is the network state, just to be, there is a network state, which is the crypto.
There's a network,
Yeah.
exactly.
There's a network, which is
Yeah.
the crypto nomad uh,
Creator.
content creator
Mhm.
network. And those people end up, it's the internet money people. That's what it is.
Correct. It's the internet people. It's the cloud people, which is exactly what this whole thing is about.
Yeah, the cloud people.
It's going, it's the cloud people, and then it's taking the cloud eventually to the lands, which is what Balaji is doing here. And what, once this grows sufficiently, will happen in the different node cities where you'll take up an apartment building, an apartment block, and you can start as soon as you have sufficient membership with sufficient economic, social capital, you will be able to negotiate land deals, even though not all of the land is adjacent. It's decentralized.
Okay, so if these cloud people, these cloud people, there's a financial system which is crypto and basically the attention economy. So anybody who's getting money from one of the social media platforms from posting things, those are the two basic forms of income.
Yeah, so there's a parallel financial network, crypto. There's a parallel media network, all of the content creation stuff.
Yeah. And there's also there's locations. There is likely some sort of religion. I don't mean that in necessarily some a physical church, but there is a spirit and a god, as in what is the ideal. If you were to aggregate, what does everybody in this network aspire to? What are the no-nos? What are the must do? And then you take all those rules and you put them together and you call it whatever, the god, the deity, the goal,
The network state. Yeah, yeah. I mean,
the
that's
the
exactly Bala
the
just put.
vision, whatever we want to call it. There must be some sort of deity, some ideal also associated with that. So maybe
For
one of
sure, for sure.
there'll be a whole pantheon also.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be competing network states, and there's going to be competing gods in the pantheon of the network state alone. There's going to be network states that are oriented via location or via industry. Some network states are going to be incredibly financial, fully financial, maybe. Some are going to be fully media, and you'll have different gods
There's
competing
different
in that
mascots
regard.
too.
Mascots.
There are different
I mean, I
mascots.
don't think we're there will be. I don't
No, no,
think we're
there
there
are.
yet, but
There are. Are you dog to the moon or cat to the sun?
right. Okay, yeah,
Dog.
you have different
Dog
meanings for
is the
sure.
mascot. Dog is the supreme mascot. The Shiba Inu dog is the supreme mascot. There's so many different versions of it.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so that will absolutely develop. The thesis there is basically we were at peak centralization roughly around World War One, World War Two, and then we've just been decentralizing. So if you look at the number of countries since World War Two, they've just been going through the roof. We've basically 4x since then. So the breakdown of the British Empire, the breakdown of the French Empire, the breakdown of the Soviet Union, like 150 new countries. And that's
Yeah.
just going to keep
And
going. And so there's opportunity to leverage the vacuums there.
true. And also the number of countries is artificially restricted by the thought police of the UN, but the reality is the Congo, for example, is not a country.
Mm.
Like the area that is the Congo, which is the size of like a third of the United States, is anarchic state with like 10 different countries inside of it. Even
Yeah,
Mexico, I mean, you
exactly.
could probably tell me this. Even Mexico, there's different military controlling different
Yeah,
sections.
right. So you have kind of warlord situations in Mexico. You could easily split it into north and south. So if a part of Mexico, if the US eventually annexes part of Mexico, where there's a relationship where the NAFTA becomes more of a formalized thing, the north would be very reasonable to first engage with because you have an industrial base, you have a certain population that's more educated, whereas the south is like jungle and completely different and just highly indigenous. So you have two countries at least in Mexico just because of demographics and industry, and then you just have clusters of shit show, which are the cartels, which
Yeah,
are warlords. Yeah.
which are warlords. Well, I mean, the two most recent state projects that were the big, very successful ones were obviously the German one with Bismarck back 1800s, and the American one
Mm.
before that, where you just had these, where you had your 16 Bundesländer, we have our 50 states, but they started off as basically competing countries. Then there was this huge centralization, as you
Yeah,
just discussed, around
correct.
World War II. By the end of World War II, everything had
Mm.
centralized into basically
Yeah,
just
that
one
peak
big country,
centralization.
the West.
Yeah, I mean the I mean peak centralization maybe I mean peak concentration of power was 1990, just with the fall of the Soviet Union. At that point, it was like U.S. everywhere,
Pax
and then from
Americana,
there,
EU,
Pax Americana.
well, not EU yet, but pre-EU.
Yeah, yeah,
Pax Americana,
same spirit.
pre-EU, the
Like,
whole thing, yeah.
hmm so yeah, we're past peak basically. So what does that mean? How does that? What does imply macroeconomically, and how do we position ourselves for exactly that? Because there's a lot gonna shift and a lot of opportunity gonna rise.
Yeah. Well, it's also interesting because everybody feels this. I mean, the obvious breakdown of institutions everywhere, left and right, but more specifically, it just feels like chaos is not, feels like things are getting more chaotic. And I don't know how that possibly could change. I don't know anybody who thinks everything will be getting less chaotic somehow. So
Yeah, no,
it feels like this floodgate has been opened and it's just, we're in for 20 years of chaos, if not more,
probably way more.
probably 80. So the guy who you and I discussed briefly, who's very good, is I forget his name, but Zhang. I'm going to butcher it, but he has some Chinese name. He's a Chinese professor in Beijing. He went
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
viral. He's
He
great.
did.
I've been watching some of
Yeah,
his
it's
videos.
hilarious.
He had one that went viral because he was, I think it was the Iran one. But what's so funny is he's a professor, a high school professor in Beijing at
Mm,
like the international school in
mm,
Beijing. He's a
mhm.
random high school professor, but he's really, really good. And
He knows
he
his shit.
he posts
Yeah.
he posts everything. And you made a comment which I really liked, and I've been thinking about since you said it. He's Chinese, and so when he talks about the West, he's talking about it from a detached point of view. And so he says things so matter of fact that I would never say because like we're deep in the weeds, we're part of it. But him, it's like there's an alien who has come and is just like, oh, these people do this. And he said it's so matter of fact, it's very refreshing. But he also said the other day, he said it's all going to get way more chaotic.
Yeah, I mean, he has the same thesis as basically biology, both of them, and I think that's why they are both resonating so much in the cloud information sphere because they people are having the intuition that these guys are right. And yeah, that guy is super impressive. He's definitely it's very interesting how detached he can present the things in the West, and he knows it in and out as well. I'm pretty sure he studied at Yale as well. So he like went to Yale, studied, and I think he's
Did he
Canadian, went to
actually?
Yale.
I'll have to look him up.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then he went back to China to teach at probably like the American school or some international school there.
He's
But
getting
yeah,
enough views that he's probably going to end up, he's going to make more money on his on his actual
yeah.
videos than he is on his random teacher job for the American school in Beijing.
Very soon, yeah, he's gonna have a Peterson arc probably.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, topics we have. Would you like to start? Would you like to? What are you feeling? You have your two topics.
Let's update on we wrapped up the last episode talking about diving into a video project.
Oh,
Let's
we
update on
did.
that.
I
Where are
have
we at?
something to share. I have something to share. How do I share? One second. Give me a second. Okay. You ready? Get your popcorn out.
Yeah. All right.
Can we see this?
Yeah. Dude, it's insane. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm glad you like it.
That's a huge upgrade.
Thanks.
Great work.
Thank you. Thank you.
The
So
premiere,
yeah,
guys, you saw it here first.
you did see it here first. Also, the first time Jens had seen it. I finished it a couple days ago, but I didn't want to show you
Wow.
uh, until here.
Nice. Well, that's
So
incredible.
yeah, that's it's not perfect, but it is a start. It is a pretty good
It's pretty
start.
damn
As
good. we've come a very long way. I think if people would have
we
seen where we started, we've come a pretty long way.
we did start. It did start. It was pretty hard. One thing I would not recommend is to film in snow because even having every shot of snow fall at roughly the same speed, you would not think that to be such a problem. But like you have one image, the snow's fall. The snow is of a specific size and of a specific texture and falling at a specific speed. I might be exposing myself as a total mountain ski nerd right now who over focuses on snow, but that really bothered me because there would be one scene and there would be of the guy and the snow would be falling super fast and intensely and this way, straight down. And then in the next one, the snow would be falling diagonally very slowly and it would be big. So that was the number of regenerations. So there was that. Then the character consistency that we're still figuring out. That was not great. Um, and
In fact, the
okay,
way you produced that already made it very, it didn't matter, right?
could you tell this? Could you understand the story?
Well, I mean, since it's a trailer, I would have probably
Yeah,
guessed what it is. Yeah.
yeah. So it needs to get better. There is a very annoying problem, which is Google can't let me upload photorealistic images on in Europe. Oh, can do you have?
Well, just go to Japan again.
I tried. They figured me out. So I couldn't. It was actually a huge problem. Um, so that's so fuck Google. Can't use Google. Well, I can't say that now. Our video is done. Um, now our video algorithm is done on YouTube. So yeah, that. But I don't think we'll use Google anyway. I think we will use
Cool.
Kling or Runway or something
Yeah,
after.
is that
But
the,
either way,
what did you end up using for?
so I used Google and Midjourney, and I once you start cutting things, you can get really creative. There's a I've had to go deep on research on how to make a film because the
Mm.
Orson Welles is the greatest at filmmaking. And a couple things I've learned is one, the reason that old films are often better quality at story, the quality of the storytelling is better, is because they're visual stories. And today, people rely too much on audio, on conversation. People are overly explanatory in the way that they tell the story. But film is a visual medium. And so you shouldn't be telling the story through words. You should aspire to make a silent film. So even Star Wars, I don't know if I told you this, Star Wars, actually the original, New Hope, released a silent version back in the day. And I'm pretty sure it was a silent black and white version. Even though it was filmed in color, they made it silent and they made it black and white. And the film works in silent and in black and white. Obviously, there's still music, but there's no dialogue. And Orson Welles, who was the greatest filmmaker and developed most of the techniques, he was also a magician and a hypnotherapist or hypnotist. He said film was illusion. For example, you have a shot of a guy turning and then the next shot of the guy's back. Well, those don't actually need to be the same guy. You can have stunt doubles, all that stuff. So yeah, so I've had to learn all these things, play with it. It does allow for sketchy AI inconsistencies, which is fine. So basically what I've done is I start
Mm.
with the same still frame. I take the still frame of the guy, and then I just run the prompt of him standing up, of him sitting down, of him looking down, of him just doing 20 different actions. And then I cut out the first section, the first second anyway, but it gives me the consistency where it always roughly gives me the same guy. So it's like I'll generate a 5 second thing and I cut out the first 2 seconds every time, and then I have all his actions needed. Um, we'll find, and I think there's a better way of doing it, but that is how I got the visual consistency. So that was that. We still have a character consistency problem. So style, we got character, we'll get TBD. If anybody has suggestions, if anybody's in this world and has suggestions on how to keep style and character consistency at the same time, that would be much appreciated. So yeah,
Yeah, very
that's
cool. Very cool. I wonder to what extent that new nano banana is relevant. Have you tried it out?
I have not tried it out. Um, do you want to talk about that? That was an interesting,
Yeah, go for it.
just what we briefly. So Nano Banana comes out. There's a big announcement. Google Nano Banana. Some, I think, Chinese developers slid in the day of and hijacked the release. They put up a terrible website that under nanobanana.ai. They put up their random LLM image generator that they must have just pulled from open source uh, and put up a paywall, a link. And so at the same time as you have all these people on Twitter, all these people on YouTube, all these articles hyping nano banana, nano banana, nano banana, but most people aren't talking about the fact that it's a Google project. So then they type, like myself, type nano banana, and this thing, nanobanana.ai, pops up. Everyone clicks on it. Everyone's like, this is kind of weird and sketchy looking, but I keep hearing it's amazing. Um, they must have made themselves a lot of money. So they made themselves a huge jackpot on hijacking the hype of this Google feature. So that's one part of this whole thing, is that amazing job on whoever those people were to hijack this release. Because I went to the website, I was like, this is janky, I don't understand. And I didn't pay, but honestly, I almost did. And then there's the actual feature, which is a Google feature, which I must go test.
This is hilarious. I'm looking at the website and they just have little bananas on the left and the right.
I
That's
could
crazy. I mean, I
misunderstand.
understand how.
I'm pretty sure that's not the Google thing. But
No, no, this is not the Google thing. And it's, yeah, this is not the Google thing at all. This is insane. It's so cool. It's also hilarious because they hijacked Google's ranking system to just
they should have
scam people.
first on a Google
Yeah,
product. They
exactly.
should have first on Google search.
That's hilarious. I think it was also not available as a standalone product. You had to either it was invite only or you had to access it via the API. So Google didn't have an interface on the web for it, and then you just had the Nano Banana,
Yeah.
nanobanana.ai.
So that was some very impressive, slightly scammy crypto degen energy of whoever did that project.
Yeah,
And that,
yeah,
hats off to you. That was super well done.
well executed. Yeah, they probably
But
did
the
make a ton of money.
but it turns out the actual feature, what it looks like you can do, which I will go try out, is you can swap. It's very good in painting, is what it is. That's actually all the feature does. All it does is you just take this image and you swap my white shirt for a blue shirt, which Midjourney
Mhm.
has in painting, but Midjourney doesn't have in painting that well with your face. So Midjourney specifically doesn't let you face swap, and this one does. I think that's what it appears. So people have been
Yeah,
reticent. People are scared. There's an overall fear, as I was saying earlier, with Google photorealism in the EU specifically, with the the gerontocracy ruling. Everyone is fearing the basically deep fakes. Everyone's scared of deep fakes. So everyone's scared of deep fakes being porn. So they don't want you to be able to swap someone's face out easily, which is reasonable. I mean, that is, you can imagine like 14-year-olds just being absurdly reckless about that. So that's a good limitation. But nonetheless, it's annoying when we're trying to create something really cool, like a
mhm.
film. So we'll figure it out.
Yeah, yeah. We will figure it out. So I think the open source models are at most a year behind. So as soon as that gets fixed, you'll be able to do whatever. It's going to be the Wild West of media creation. And we're at the spark of it, which is crazy.
Yeah, it is. So yeah. Okay, we wanted to discuss what vision do we see now that you've seen the trailer. Oh, by the way, also the music was done. I am a musician. Music was done. I am a musician, but I did not make music. I AI'd the music because I wanted to try it.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it was on, to give total credit to what is it called? 11 Labs. 11 Labs.
Mm-hmm.
Theirs is pretty good. It's pretty good. I usually don't use it prepackaged. Like, so I make the music on 11 Labs. I adjust the prompt. I use whatever 1 out of 10 when I've adjusted the prompt properly, and then I'll throw it into Ableton and adjust it a little bit because there are things that I don't like. But it's really good. The 11 Labs is really good. So right now, it is at the level of stems, which means it can, if you want a guitar sample, you can just
Mm.
generate it in 11 Labs rather than go to Splice, which is the normal sampling thing. So if I need strings, oh, actually, that reminds me, I need strings for my song. I need to generate them. So
Mhm.
it's you could build out a song doing it. So far, the fine, if you just say, "Hey, give me a pop song," it's not going to give you a good pop song. But if you say, "Give me a guitar in A minor that is this long at this BPM," it will give you that, and that's really good. It's super impressive. So that's what I did with the audio.
You'll have to send over the video. We should post it.
Yes, yes, we absolutely will. I just wanted to show it to you first. So, what do
Yeah,
you
amazing.
see? What do you see? Vision.
Yeah, the vision. Do you want to do short term, medium term, long term, or long term, medium term, short term? How do you
Oh,
want to
definitely
approach
long
it?
term. I'll focus on the vision. The next way to make media, the previous way was the big wave was the democratization of cameras and the internet slash social media. So everyone having a phone in their pocket next to them 24/7, being able to film. Everyone became a journalist. That's the that was the everyone became a journalist, and everyone became a model, and everyone became a art curator and photographer and all those things. And now filmmaking, you can create the different thing that has been basically democratized now is you could always film yourself. You could always make a film once we had the phones and social media, and you could distribute it with social media. You could fully distribute it. It actually, there's been just been so many at home, film student movies. But now you can create the film of you doing anything anywhere. So CGI and surrealism has been all the other things that you needed a budget for. So costumes, location, elephants walking through the Alps. How were you going to do elephants and an army of 100,000 people walking through the Alps in a snowstorm? I'm not even sure you can't film that, right? So you'd have to use CGI and some complicated tech that they have in LA that they have, and everyone has to be decked out. All the guys have to be decked out. So obviously they would CGI a lot of it, but still, I mean, I don't the budgets on um the most recent huge example of this was the budgets on Game of Thrones.
Mm.
Those wars that they made, like the incredible battle when the super detailed battle with Jon Snow when he rushes out, and the wall and all those things. You can make those for 8 cents now, for 8 cents. And so if you're really creative and you know what you want, which is the key restricting factor now, you can make Hollywood level film. So that's the vision. And you can make it cheap and you can make it however you want and you can make it unapologetic, which means you don't need to kowtow to 100 producers. Even those Hollywood films, I mean, those directors always have to change things in their films because the producer says, this is not sellable. This is not what I like. This is against my ideology. This is blah, blah, blah. Or this, you need to put this actor in the film because this actor, she's the daughter of the best friend or whatever. Now, none of that. We just make our film and we make one every, I don't know, 3 months.
Hollywood quality films.
How many people would we need to make a film a week? 90 minutes a week. How long, how could you even do that? A film a week.
So for a week, I don't know. I think like an episode for like a 45-minute thing, you can probably pull it off with like five professionals.
Okay. Then what is the, pick the 5 years, 10-year vision, the most, uh, what could you do every week? You have unlimited money, you got unlimited
If
people, but you
Oh,
don't have
okay.
unlimited time. So I'm saying restrict the one variable we're restricting is time.
Mm.
You have all the GPU, CPU you need, and so you have all the
Yeah.
you need to be able to write a script. Okay. You need to be able to write a script. You need to get the script into shots, a list of shots. Okay, then
Mm.
you have to get the list of shots, and then that's it. And then you film the shots, and then you need to AI just so much. You need to create the visual style. You need to create the scenes.
The bottleneck is the selection of all the AI generations that you're going to do and selecting which ones are the non-floppy ones that actually make it into the phone. Depending how you can
Yeah.
scale that, which is probably you can run it in parallel for each scene with one supervisor. It's kind of the number of people that you can max parallelize the job onto, and then you edit it together.
Then you edit it together. So you basically would just have someone in charge of a certain number of scenes, and then they have to pick the thing. They have to pick every single shot for the scene. You have a broad director. So those are the editors or whatever the name is. Where you're going to need new names for the filming, but you have your broad. I mean the director. You have the director, and who reports to the director? Well, you have all the people who select the little shots,
The
and they say,
generators,
hey, here are the 20 great shots for this scene. Maybe they're the editor, maybe they're not the editor. They're probably not the editor. And then you have a different editor who then also takes every shot that the person has selected. It's doable. The point is that is doable, and you could do it
doable.
with didn't even be that expensive. Okay, so long term
Perfect.
episode. It could even be a 30-minute episode, or a film a month, or a 30-minute episode a week, or
I mean, an
something like
episode
that.
a week. That's honestly the release schedule that shows are on because everybody knows that on Thursday night Game of Thrones comes out.
Yeah,
So an episode a week is it's kind of
but they spend 2 years making all the films, and then they release an episode a week for 10 weeks. But that actually wasn't an episode a week. That was an episode every 3 months.
yeah, it is a but yeah, that's kind of the time frame that you'd have to bring it down to if you want to just live release basically, generate and
Yeah.
boom, send it
Well,
out.
I think what's nice is to restrict the time frame and to increase the quality and the quantity over time. So we just say every week something gets made. And the first week it was one frame. The first week it was one frame. Now in a week I could get 30 seconds. Then we can get a minute, etc. Keep going.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to approach it because we're at the hardest it's ever gonna be because we can leverage built up experience and knowledge. Another factor that is just gonna bring down the production time is that AI is at its worse it's gonna be. So that is just gonna get better as well. So the generation slash selection process is the most tedious today that it's ever gonna be. So these three factors will just allow for more and more output as we progress in this kind of compound.
Yeah. The part that doesn't ever change is the selection process. However, the reason is you can have the greatest actor in the world standing in front of the greatest director in the world with the greatest camera man, and they're not going to get it on the first take every time. So, because, okay, the actor does a perfect job. So we ask the AI, make the perfect video of the character doing this in the perfect situation, but it will just do it 4 different ways. So you still have to go. Version 1 was the one I wanted, or actually, none of these are correct. I want version 12.
Right. Right. Two factors that will reduce that process over time as well as one prompting. And the second is it's just going to get quicker at providing you the 12.
Yes.
Also, that is going to get crunched over time. It's really the most tedious it's ever going to be.
Yeah. And in terms of the vision, I would say that is not necessarily time based, but what are we making? I mean, we can make anything. We can make with this tool. So, what are we making? Well, great stories, great aspirational, heroic stories. Hannibal being the first one, but the others, there's many, many others of stories in the past of heroic men. The largest collection of a lot of these stories actually that I have seen has been on the BAP podcast on Caribbean Rhythms, which is he has these great man stories. And they're really good. They're some of the best ones because he's basically a historian. And so when he's not making his all his jokes and everything, I mean he's just telling you this story of this random Greek statesman who no one has ever heard of because he's not in the top 5. Someone like Timo Leon or some other people from Syracuse, and you just have never heard of these people if you're educated, and so there's 100 of those,
Yeah,
thousands.
many of those. And why do you think it's necessary to do that?
Why is it necessary? It is necessary because the current media, there's very little that is aspirational. Very few. I mean, there was that list of 4chan great films a long time ago, and the list was not that long. The list was like 100 films ever that were made that felt like they raised the spirit of frontier conquest, glory, those glorious films. I think that's the right word, glorious film, Argenic films. There were like 100, and there should be many more. Now you can go on Netflix and see 600 trillion reality TV shows, yet there's only 100 ever glorious stories.
What do you think the impact of that's going to be?
A bit of the 4 minute mile idea, which is no one had ever run a 4 minute mile until, what was it, Roger Scruton or whoever ran the 4 minute mile. And then in the next month or in the next year, 20 people ran the 4 minute mile. Because once one person had done it, they unlocked this potential for everyone else, spiritually, psychologically, metaphysically, if that's your vibe. And there's all these stories of things that have been unlocked, but most people don't even don't know that they have. So there's all these possibilities, human possibilities that have occurred in the past. And if you're not aware that they occurred in the past, then less likely to happen again.
That's a good way to put it. Amazing, man. The trailer is insane. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Great progress. And yeah,
Um,
it's never been easy.
okay. Would you like to chat either your rabbit hole or your work progress? You talked a bit about
Hmm.
Singapore or Forest City,
Yeah, so my
Network
rabbit
State.
hole is Singapore and network state. That's definitely my rabbit hole right now. Maybe you have something else going as well. And shipping product as well. On the Apex side of things, starting to also see the vision and the path of how that's going to become a just a social media management agent over time, which is really cool, really exciting. It's great to be also here, which is literally the spot with the intersection of those two worlds, which is kind of the parallel media and now the AI coming together with content creators and just empowering all of that. I've been thinking about that a bit more and the vision that comes with that. And I basically realized that subconsciously I was building on three main theses. And the three are the following. The first is that in a post-labor economy, the most valuable asset is going to be an audience because most other things are going to get commoditized. And how you're going to stay secure and able to continue to create economic energy is via directly having access to distribute your thoughts, your opinions, your content to your followers. The second one is that personal brands are today already media companies and they should behave like it and they should scale like it and they should produce like it. So, what's holding us back as creators with your example that you just presented from having an output which is at the same scale as Disney's output 20 years ago? Nothing. So personal brands should both have the scale and the operation of a media company. And I think this is enabled and empowered through AI and the leverage that that grants us. And the third thing is that attention over a long enough time horizon is the single most valuable currency because you can get anything done with sufficient attention. Even let's assume the big great currencies of today, which are the US dollar and Bitcoin. If you had the capacity to have the mind share that the US dollar has every single day and multiply that by two and channel that into a new currency over a long time horizon, you would build up a new system similar to how Bitcoin gained its cloud that would replace the US dollar. So the way that you bring about those fundamental changes in the substrate that we run on are all based on attention. So understanding and being able to act on the effective access and interactions that are brought about by attention is once again the most advantageous position you can get yourself in today. So those are the three things that I think I kind of started grasping a year ago and why I started off on this journey, which is kind of the X journey, as well as, well, let's also automate it for myself, but also because I want to enable people to walk the path after I've walked it and enable them to use the same tools as I'm developing for myself. And yeah, that also means there's going to be a lot coming with that, way beyond where Apex is today, which is mostly engagement, moving basically into the entire sales funnel of creators, guiding followers through that sales funnel over time, which currently you hire people to do, right? You'll hire people to engage, to DM, to set appointments. None of that will be necessary. What you will have is instead of having five people, you will have one person that is just empowered by an agentic system. So yeah, that's uh, that's where it's at. I think that's also super adjacent to the video side of things because I think that'll be indispensable in the long term too for point number two, which is basically individuals slash communities of individuals, which however you want to call it, but if they are not in the same location like us right now, are a form of a network state, a network community. should operate as media companies as well.
It's called a network.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
But yes, they should. And that's basically
eventual,
what we're going to do.
so that was insightful this past week where I was like, all right, well, what am I actually doing? Like, why am I doing it? Because I feel a strong impulse to do it. Like, I feel a strong drive beyond just like, oh, I just want to build a company and I want it to be successful and have a ton of users. I feel a drive to just keep working on it every day. And these are the three things. So
Yeah. Yes. Did you write an article about this?
I haven't outlined and published
Because
it.
you just outlined something very, I mean, or a video. You could speak the video out.
Yeah, I have it outlined. It will be an article and it will likely become a video as well.
Yeah, that's a good vision. Yeah, it brings together a lot of the ideas we've been thinking about for now years. I mean, from Jack Liu, Dan Ko, all the Bitcoin things, the X world, I mean, it's all floating in the same direction.
Yeah, yeah, it really is. And it's really a project that captures the spirit of that direction, of the time that is moving in that direction, which is where you want to be. I mean, you don't want to be building a legacy financial systems if like all the energy is going to move to crypto anyway. Again, on a long enough time horizon, I mean, a decade, you're probably fine, but like in 3 decades, 5 decades, the world will be very different. And I think that's something also with the network state side of things. I think that that's something that people don't think about enough is that these things take longer than you think. Like stuff doesn't change in 3 years. I mean, people are today arguing kind of having these conversations the last few weeks. They're like, is the AI hype cycle over? Because people haven't seen adoption. And the reality is people don't change that quickly. It's been like 3 years or 4 years. People, and especially institutions, which are a collection of these non-changing people, they don't move that quickly and they don't change that quickly. But as soon as you get into the decades and zoom out, which is really, we have short lifetimes and kind of the relativity of things, we're like get 80, 90 years old. So it seems long to us, but it's really just a tiny period. And it's been 3 years and the world has changed massively, even if there hasn't been institutional adoption. Now, the institutions that are being created today, such as the network state, or more recently, such as Singapore, they are native to these new changes. So they don't have to change, they don't have to adjust the course of their ships. They can just build their ship, initially small ship, already going into the most relevant direction of the day, and then just build the ship as they go. Instead of like having a gigantic ship and trying to turn it the way you would have to get the US to turn on monetary policy, for example, which clearly was a strong push to achieve that. It failed. TBD rest of the Trump term, but doesn't seem like it's looking very good. So rather than trying to turn a gigantic ship to that is now out of the spirit of the time and adjust it, you just smaller ship in the right direction and grow it over time. At least that's how I'm starting to think about things.
Yeah, and the thing about these hype cycles also is that yes, there, for example, if crypto had multiple hype cycles, and then the normie thinks, okay, well, it's gone now. But or even some random hype cycle back in the day, like cloud infrastructure of, I don't know, 2014 or whenever that hype cycle was in San Francisco. Yeah, they hype and then they come back down, and then the people who weren't the people who were there just for the hype don't do anything and crash and burn. But nowadays, everything's in the cloud. I mean, all my photos are in the cloud. So, and nowadays, Balaji's thing is from the crypto hype cycles. I mean, that entire world view, that their monetary input, the reason they even know each other, the reason that those people were drawn together, the reason those people can do any of that is from crypto. So yes, there are some actual just random hype cycles that don't lead to much, but crypto, AI, it's mixing in many, 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 many ways. And I mean, you make a film using AI, you fund it using crypto. That's really normal in my mind as how you
Yeah,
would do
and
media
it's going
now.
to be really normal. It's going to be really normal. And I haven't seen a film studio that basically has their token, but why not?
Let's go. The
Let's go.
Argenic Labs token.
The Argenic Labs, the Argenic token. Yeah, I mean, you just have to capture attention. Once again, you have to capture attention via whatever content funnel you have, and then channel it onto the token such that you can continue to produce attention holding content. And ideally, that is in the spirit of a narrative that you can get behind.
Yeah. Well, that seems like your years of thinking about this is culminating into something very concrete and packageable and understandable for people.
Yeah, fortunately, I will keep refining it, but I think the gist is I've captured the gist of it. How about you? Any rabbit holes recently?
Yes, this one is unrelated to crypto and AI, but it is Argenic. It is more health based and esoteric and a bit of history. This one's
Nice.
deep. This one's really deep. So there's this guy called Victor Schauenberger. Okay, let me make sure to get Victor. Yeah, perfect. Good. Making sure I pronounce his name properly. So Victor Schauberger. So he is an Austrian, born late 1800s, and he is the Tesla, as in Nikola Tesla, of water. But no one has heard of him except for a bunch of esoteric freaks on Twitter like me. So he is the Tesla of water. And what I mean by that is that Tesla theorized everything. Tesla was the schizo of electricity. He was just, on a different plane. I mean, I don't know what level of consciousness this man was at on a regular basis, but he was seeing stuff. He was living a dream state kind of life. Well, this guy is the same, but for water. And he has a pretty crazy story. He is the culmination of 400 years of foresters. So he's basically a forester, which just means he grew up in the forests of Austria, and for 400 years his family were just forest people. So they're basically forest spirits. And after 400 years your family starts to get, a certain connection, father to son to daughter to son to father to son, of really knowing the forest and trees and plants. And so are his theories are really crazy about water. He was able to make water flow uphill, like uphill. So he was able to make the water flow uphill. He just did this. Um, and he had a bunch
You
of
do it.
really. How did he do it? I don't know about it. We'll have to try it. Is what we're gonna have to do. So,
All right.
um, his story is even crazier. So, the same way that at some point during Nazi Germany, obviously Austria, Germany, same country at the time, and he was in his, I don't want to say prime. He was in his youth. He was in his 30s and 40s. He wasn't a particularly political guy. He's a forest spirit after all. So he's not focused on politics and on people. He's more focused on, water and trees. So the whole regime happens, and uh, he is pointed to by many as this great thinker of the time, but he doesn't get that involved. Then later, because he's busy, being a forest spirit, and but later in 1958, the U.S. government had been doing these scientific projects. Obviously, everyone has heard of the Alamos and Manhattan Project, um, but that was not the only big scientific project of the post-war era in the United States. After the war, the US collected all the German scientists and brought them to the US. A lot of the British scientists. So there was a huge brain drain from Germany where the US just said, hey, if you're a scientist, just come and we'll hide you and pretend you weren't German. And so they did that with many. And so that was the foundation of a lot of the technology that we invented since 1945 in the United States, which was in computing, in space, in engineering, and everything. It was this mix of these American scientists, the British scientists, and specifically the Germans coming over. So that big mix and these big government funded projects. And so the government funded project of Manhattan Project led to the whole nuclear industry. The computing project led to Intel, which led to Apple and to Microsoft and all those things. So in every industry, these big government projects were pivotal to the development of technology at the time. Because just like you're doing at network school right now, it just brought the right people in the room at the same time. But you've never heard of the water project, even though the United States was doing dams everywhere, and even the Brits and the French and the Germans at the time were building dams. They were re-navigating every single river in the West at the time. Now we just think about it. All these dams have been there forever. No one puts any new dams up in the West. They were built 100 years ago. But Victor Schauenberger really didn't like dams. He thought they were evil because he thought that the people who were building dams did not understand water. He thinks water is alive, which the Buddhists would agree with. He thinks water has consciousness and has desires. For example, he thinks water wants to be, as in the desire of water, is to be at 4 degrees. It's right above freezing, 4 degrees Celsius. So he says water is very happy at 4 degrees Celsius. And the way he talks about it is he says like water is happy because it has consciousness. And so and also water has different charges. So water can be charged electrically. So that's part of his ideas. Either way, let me get back to the story of what happened. So the American project, the Americans want to have this big water convention of the water scientists. So they call up Victor Schauenberger, who's in Austria at the time, in 1958. And they say, hey, we want you to be the Oppenheimer of this project because you're the genius everyone keeps talking about. You're the guy, you're the wizard who can make water flow uphill. They call him over, they fly him into Washington. He meets with them for a week. They have creative disagreements. You can kind of imagine what they are, which are he is water spirit. He says dams are bad. You need to do everything in touch with the way water wants to move. Water has a desire and all these things. And the US just says, hey, we want to put big dams and create electricity out of the water. So they have probably some form of disagreement. So the project doesn't end up getting taken off, doesn't take off. He gets flown back to Austria and mysteriously dies 5 days later. So was this man killed by the American intelligence? I have no idea. Was it weird coincidence that he died 5 days after having a disagreement with the American government? I don't know. However, what I can tell you is when you go to his Wikipedia page right now, it has the greatest honor that you can have for any forward-thinking person. It says, Victor Schauenberger is an engineer, a forester, a writer, and a pseudoscientist. So if it says the word pseudoscientist in your first sentence of your Wikipedia bio, it means that you are very smart and that you are forward thinking. So once I read that, I was like, I need to look into this guy. So that's this guy. Now, why have I gone down this rabbit hole? Because this other random guy on Twitter has been taking electrodes and zapping water and drinking it. And he calls one of them cursed water and one of them blessed water. And he has gone so far down this rabbit hole. So you buy a battery, you hook it up into a tray of water, a glass tray. After you zap it, the water separates into positively charged water and negatively charged water. And then one of them is cursed and one of them is blessed. You really don't want to touch the cursed water and you want to drink the blessed water or do something with it. Don't go try this without looking him up, okay? You got to be careful. You're shooting electricity into water. You have to be careful. So that's the rabbit hole. I haven't tried it yet because my graphite electrodes haven't arrived in the mail.
Amazing. Amazing. That's quite the rabbit hole. Now, how do we make water flow uphill?
The I don't know about the water flow uphill part yet, but blessed water, apparently the Roman baths, they were very, very specific on the way that water moved into the baths. You can't just take water and put it through normal pipes. So this is pretty cool. So the culmination of this, my guess, will be a certain form of drink, which has an electrical, it's going to be electrically zapped drink, and then also baths, so some sort of bathing thing. Because also the Twitter schizo awesome guy, he says that his
Who's
name
this guy?
is N'Golo Tesla.
Oh, I think you sent him over. No?
I likely did in the past. He's been one of my favorite Twitter schizos in a while, or ex
Uh,
schizos. But people have been Pete community. The Ray Pete people have been following this guy for a while, and he's good. So a lot of Ray Pete people have been jumping on this. But blessed water, we're getting blessed water,
thing.
guys. We're getting blessed water.
All right. Looking forward to it. Where did you order the electrodes to?
Don't ask a man where he gets his electrodes.
No, not where
Some
you get
random
it. Did you get them to
place.
Lisbon or
Oh, France.
what is going to be the
But I
land
will
of the
look.
blessed water?
Oh yes, France. I'll do my science projects at France. But I it's on its way. My graphite electrodes and my alligator cables.
Cool. Alligator cables.
Be
Oh, I see.
careful.
Yeah.
Be careful, people. Don't zap yourself. So yeah,
Amazing.
that's
That's a
that's
good
my
rabbit
new
hole.
one. Yeah, well, that's our Argenic drink right there. It's blessed water.
Well, let's see. Let's see. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh,
I'm looking forward to
so
seeing this blessed water.
also one little tidbit of this is that the the intuitive feeling I have always had with Coca-Cola is that I don't drink Coca-Cola in a plastic bottle. And I can't explain to you why. It just is bad. It's just wrong. I never drink Coca-Cola in a plastic bottle. There's something off about it. And you can tell me as many times as you want. It's the same Coca-Cola at the same temperature in that bottle, but it's just not. It's just not. And everybody who drinks Coca-Cola understands that and feels it. So I never have it. I either have it out of the hierarchy is the glass bottles, the the tin, the aluminum cans. Aluminum cans, there is a further hierarchy, which is the tall, skinny European aluminum cans are better than the fatter American aluminum cans. Again, I don't know why, but they just are better. And then the worst is plastic. Plastic, no go. You should never touch it. So, but now I have a reason, which is apparently it could be a possible explanation. The electrical charge of the drink is lost through the plastic. It seeps out into the ether, into the universe, into the air. But the glass
Yeah.
bottle actually maintains the electrical charge of the drink. So it could be that if you measured the literal electricity in glass bottle Coca-Cola, it's higher than in the plastic bottle Coca-Cola.
Mm. Yeah, it could definitely be that there's some kind of diffusion in one of the materials that is less than the other. I could see that. No. Great. Well,
So
it's been a good pod, awesome updates, and we'll have a new one for you guys soon. Bye bye.